please, if you like what you see, subscribe. We'd appreciate it. What's around the ring? Before we get into our MMA here, a little boxing this weekend. Canelo was successful in his fight, and now we have a big matchup set up here.
Yeah, Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez will be finally fighting on September 12th in Vegas at the stadium there, the football stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Allegiant, Allegiant Stadium. And it's being promoted by Dana White and the TKO group.
That's incredible.
That's their first boxing event outside of the Conor thing.
Yeah, what a great boxing event to do, though. So good on them. So good stuff happening in boxing, good stuff at MMA, good stuff at TKO. Good to see, you always want everybody to do well. So let's do it up. Let's get to this past weekend's UFC Fight Night, actually. Let's jump into this real quick because there is some noteworthy stuff to talk about here before we get into the main event and probably the co-main event, which I think had even more people talking. Any other fights on this show you want to mention?
Yeah, Jeremy Stevens, he came back to the UFC, in his home of Iowa, and he got beat up pretty much. So he's tough. He landed a few shots, but Mason Jones really beat the shit out of him for 3 rounds. So he looked great. Good on Mason Jones to steal some hype or whatever. Also, Daniel Rodriguez fought Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Put his lights out.
Yeah, TKO in round 3. But it was a fun back and forth fight before that.
No, it's good stuff. All right, let's talk about it. Co-main event. Let's get right to that first. Bo Nickal. I thought to myself this could be a problem last week, his style, but when, gun to my head, I'm like, I'll still go with Bo. You were convinced, I think, the style of RDR was going to play into Bo, and I said, well, I definitely could see that because, he likes to grapple. But I kept thinking, too, I said, that boxing, just that edge and experience, but man, did he really I think he joked about it afterwards that, I remembered I'm from Holland,
right.
Right. And so people have been beating up Bo online about this. I don't, people are haters. It is what it is. But I want to talk about it from a logical sense. Where do we see Bo now? I mean, to me, as much as I love Bo, he's still a huge prospect. I do think a performance like that and how he showed up, it's definitely back to the drawing board, and we have to figure out where we want to go from here.
Yeah. First, respect to RDR.
Great performance.
Yeah, great game plan. Plus, he was fucking huge. He looked so big in there. Yeah. And I know Bo tried to put on extra weight, and he cut 30-something pounds, but he still looked way smaller than RDR. So I don't know for Bo. His wrestling just doesn't seem to be translating the same. That Penn State wrestling. I don't know if he's worried about gassing out, going for too many takedowns, or he thinks he needs to prove something on the feet. But that was a bad display, obviously. Yeah, that was
tough day.
It did not look good. Yeah, so he got dominated, obviously. For the entire fight, he got dominated. So no shame, though. Still, it's his 8th fight. He's fighting a former 2-division world champion in a reputable organization. It's just too much too soon, honestly. So
no, I would agree. RDR, I know he wants to, I think, fight Strickland next.
Yeah, that's not happening. Izzy and Strickland is going to be the fight, right? So probably a missed opportunity to call somebody out. I do think so. I've flip-flopped back and forth on this a lot. When RDR first came in, I'm like, oh, 2-division world champion. He looked great in one championship. He's going to be a real problem. And then he had that Gerald Meerschaert fight where he gassed out really bad, but he won. But he did not look good. Didn't look UFC standard. And, now he's got 3 straight wins, 3 finishes off some pretty good competition. So he's a real problem for the division.
And even though he gassed out with that Jared fight, he still ultimately got the submission in the last round. And he submitted Holland, Holland is great when it comes to jiu-jitsu and stuff and good off his back. And of course, the TKO. But I think that ultimately, he does deserve a decent fight next. And, I think if he can win another big fight, there's a possibility he could be looking at a title fight for sure after that. Yeah, I don't know who you put him in there with, though.
I think Marvin Vittori or Dolides or
there you go.
I don't know what Paulo Costa's doing, one of those guys, that 15 to 10 range, probably somewhere around there. You don't jump right to Strickland. Although, like I said, coming from one championship, 2-division world champion, you could jump him up. I could see it either way.
Yeah, I think with that and then the 3 finishes in his first 3 fights in the UFC over quality competition, why not? Let's get to this main event here because this is another interesting one. Sandhagen, Figueiredo. Man, Sandhagen Holy crap, dude. This guy, he looks like another level to me because he was always good. But when he lost to Umar the last time, Umar looked so good. I thought, okay, he's good, but he's right around here. But it's like you can just see the improvements he keeps making. And he said afterwards, nothing, fires you up more than a loss if you're doing it right. I am interested to see where we go in the future with Sandhagen. Could he get a title shot? I mean, Umar lost. So if Merab wins again, he's definitely an opponent. If Sean wins, maybe you're looking at a trilogy. But yeah,
I think a Sean and Cory fight is the most fun, but
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
I also don't think Sean gets past Merab. I mean, Cory looked like a world champion for sure. I think it was a bad night in the office for Figueiredo, regardless. But, credit that to Cory. Cory is very tough to game plan for. I would argue he might have the highest fight IQ in the UFC. He's just so intelligent, so well-rounded. He was dominating that whole fight. Figueiredo was playing like a guard game, which is definitely not his thing. I mean, it just shows he had no answers to Cory on the feet, which is where he wants to be. And then Cory was dominating him on the ground as well. So, if his knee didn't pop, he's going to get beat up for 5 rounds. So also Figueiredo is like 36 or 37 or something. Yeah. So bad knee injury probably there. I hope he can make it back, but that could be a career ender for him.